Alright, we're going to look at the relationships of perpendicular lines in this lesson today, but first we're going to quickly write down some formulas that we know already. The slope formula, you should be very familiar with. It's little m, and that's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The slope y-intercept form of a line equation is the one everyone knows, y equals mx plus b. And then now the midpoint formula is what you get when you add your x values, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So those are some review formulas. We're going to define perpendicular lines. At least we've defined perpendicular lines in the past. We know that perpendicular lines intersect to form right angles. So they are lines that intersect to form right angles. And here's something else we need to know. If two lines are parallel, their slopes are going to be equal. They have the same slope, which is why they never intersect. However, if two lines are perpendicular, we have a different relationship. We call their slopes negative reciprocals. So to obtain a negative reciprocal, which is the perpendicular slope, you flip the original slope and you change its sign. So, for example, if I start with a slope of 1/2, my perpendicular slope is going to be negative 2 over 1. I flip it and change the sign. If I start with a slope of negative 3 over 4, my perpendicular slope is going to be positive 4 over 3. If I start with a slope of 1, my perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1 because the reciprocal of 1 is 1, and then you just change the sign. So that's how you obtain the perpendicular slope. Alright, so in these examples we're going to determine the original slope, and then we're going to give the perpendicular slope, the slope of a line that would be perpendicular to the original. So here I have 4x minus y is equal to 7. To obtain the slope, I've got to put it into y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to subtract 4x, I've got to solve for y, and I get negative y is equal to negative 4x plus 7. I have to make my y positive, so I'm going to divide every term by negative 1, and I get y is equal to 4x minus 7. My original slope is the coefficient in front of the x term, so my original slope is 4, and my perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1 over 4. So here's a second example. 3x is equal to 5 minus 2y. I'm going to get y by itself. I'm going to get it positive, so I'm going to add 2y to both sides. And that gives me 2y plus 3x is equal to 5. I'm going to subtract 3x. And I get 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 5. Finally, I divide by 2. And I get y is equal to negative 3/2 x plus 5/2. Don't really care about the 5/2. All I care about is the slope, which is, I'm going to make that red, the coefficient in front of the x value. So the original slope is negative 3/2. The perpendicular slope is positive 2/3. Alright, so I'm going to start to introduce what we call coordinate geometry proofs, and we'll deal with these in more detail towards the end of the unit. But I have quadrilateral ABCD has these coordinates, and I want to prove that ABCD is a rectangle. I'm going to do this because this incorporates the slope and the distance. If I can prove, here's what I'm going to show. I'm going to show that one pair of opposite sides are equal. To do that, I got to use the distance formula. And then I'm going to prove that one pair of adjacent sides are perpendicular. If I do that, that's sufficient to lock in the fact that it's a rectangle, because if I have this side is equal to this, and I know that this is a right angle, then it has to be a right angle to this one. Since they're the same length, that's going to lock in a rectangle. So I'm going to use the distance formula, A, B, C, D. If the way you label it, A, B, C, D, I'm going to show that A, B, and C, D are going to be equal. A, B, you use the distance formula between A and B, and that's going to be 2 minus a negative 2 squared plus negative 2 minus 0 squared. So that ends up being, this is 4 squared plus negative 2 squared. That's 16 plus 4 ends up being radical 20. You don't have to simplify it because we're just showing that they're going to be the same. Now CD is going to be the square root of 1 minus 5 squared plus 6 minus 4 squared, which is negative 4 squared plus 2 squared, and that again ends up being radical 20. So I just showed the first part. One pair of opposite sides are parallel, are equal. Now I'm going to show that the slope of AB is going to be perpendicular to the slope of BC. So I'm going to get this slope and I'm going to get that slope. So the slope of AB, if I look at my coordinates, here's A, here's B, it's going to be negative 2 minus 0 over 2 minus a negative 2. That ends up being negative 2 over 4, so negative 1/2. The slope of BC is going to be 4 minus a negative 2 over 5 minus 2. So that's 6 over 3. That's going to be positive 2 over 1. So we have AB is equal to CD, and because these are negative reciprocals, I can say that the slope, or AB, is perpendicular to BC. Therefore, ABCD is a rectangle. That's just a little introduction to a coordinate geometry proof where we use the distance formula, the slope formula, and possibly the midpoint formula to prove different things. Alright, we'll finish with part D, and then we'll do the other two. We'll do part C and E in class. So part D says, write the equation of the line perpendicular to this one, 2x minus y is equal to 5, and passing through this point. So the first thing I have to do is get the slope from this guy. I'm going to steal the slope, find the perpendicular slope, and then find the line equation. So I start with 2x minus y is equal to 5. I got to solve for y by subtracting 2x. I get negative y is equal to negative 2x plus 5, and I divide by negative 1, and I get y is equal to 2x minus 5. I got to steal the slope. That's the original slope is 2, so the perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1/2. I flip it and change the sign. So now I've got a slope and a point. What I do is I substitute it into y equals mx plus b. This is x, this is y. So 2 is equal to negative 1/2 times 3 plus b. This is 2 is equal to negative 1.5 plus b. If I add 1.5 to both sides, I get 3.5, and that's equal to b, so my final answer is y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 3.5. That's how you steal the slope and get the perpendicular slope and write a line equation.